I greet you, ladies and gentlemen, even this Sunday. I know I was supposed to do quite a number of recordings yesterday, but I went out of town on an emergency and I was not able to come back in good time. I hope this tutorial session finds you well and in good spirits. Straight away, without much wasting of time, I'm going to share my screen. So what we want to do today is to demonstrate a comparative advantage with an illustrative example. And I believe that this example is going to benefit you. So I will illustrate with the table where we have two economies, SA, which stands for South Africa, and Zimbabwe, where we've got these two economies, South Africa and Zimbabwe. And these two simple economies are producing cars. They are producing cars, and they are also producing maize, which is measured in tons. So the quantity of cans that are produced by South Africa is 2 cans, and the quantity of maize which is produced by South Africa is 8 tons. And the quantities of cans that are produced by Zimbabwe is 1 can, and the quantity of maize produced by Zimbabwe is 1/6. I mean, it's 6 tons of maize. Once more, South Africa produces 2 cans and 8 tons of maize, whilst Zimbabwe produces 1 can and 6 tons of maize. When you are looking at these figures, it is very clear that South Africa produces more than Zimbabwe in terms of both commodities, cars and maize. If you compare 2 cans to 1 car, clearly South Africa looks better than Zimbabwe. 8 tons to 6 tons of maize for Zimbabwe. South Africa is faring better than Zimbabwe again. So when we look at South Africa, it has absolute advantage in the production of both cars and maize. South Africa has absolute advantage. SA, South Africa has absolute advantage in producing both cans and maize. So if we follow the reasoning of Sir Adam Smith, it's as if South Africa is better off existing in autarky. And similarly, Zimbabwe would be better off not specializing in anything, because from an absolute advantage theory perspective, it looks like South Africa has got nothing to benefit from specialization and hence international trade. But we want to look at this situation from the perspective of David Ricardo, the one who came up with comparative advantage theory in the 19th century. So to do that, we'll have to calculate what is known as the opportunity cost table. We'll need to calculate the opportunity cost table. The opportunity cost table is very important for decision making under the umbrella of comparative advantage theory. We still have our South Africa and our Zimbabwe. And because this is an opportunity cost table, the headings at the top there, they change a bit. So we now have, at the top there, it's one car. In the cells, we'll be calculating the opportunity cost of producing one car. And then on the third column there, it's 1 ton of maize. It's 1 ton of maize. So how do we calculate our opportunity cost? We ask ourselves, what is the opportunity cost of producing 1 car in terms of maize? Because if South Africa were to specialize in the production of cans, she will have to forego the production of maize. We know for 2 cans, South Africa would have to forego 8 tons. So how about 1 car? For 1 car, it has to be 8/2. So it means we have got 8. We have 8 tons maize divided by divided by 2 cars. Divided by 2 cars. Which gives us 2 into 8 is 4. We now have 2 into 2 is 1. So 1 car is 4 ton maize. That's for South Africa. So we know that 1 car is actually 4 ton. I'm just highlighting our answer. 4 tons. Or let me do it this way so that it will be clear to everyone. It's 4 ton maize. So from the heading on top of that, it's saying what's the opportunity cost of producing 1 car? It is 4 tons of maize. And then in the same way, we ask ourselves, what is the opportunity cost of producing 1 ton of maize? We know that for 8 tons of maize, South Africa would have to forego the production of 2 cars. So for 1 ton, for 4 cars, for 4 tons of maize, South Africa would be foregoing 1 car, which is what we just found out. So it stands to reason that for a ton of maize, it has to be a fraction of a car. So we'll say 2 cars divided by 8 ton maize. And then we say 8 into 8, 1. 8 into 2, we know it can't. 8 into 20, it's 2. Remainder 4. 8 into 40, it's 5. So we gather that 1 ton of maize is equivalent to a quarter, 0.25 car. Or you could just write a quarter car. And then we follow the same approach to calculate, to do the same computations for Zimbabwe. Under the column of 1 car, it will be 6 tons maize divided by 1 car. It's 1 car, which is equal to just 6 tons maize. 6 tons of maize. I'm not saying of maize because of space. And then in the same vein, in the last cell there for the opportunity cost table calculations, we're saying 1 car divided by 6 tons maize, and we get 1/6 car. 1/6 car. And then the next step is the decision rule. The next step is the decision rule. How will these two economies specialize under the Ricardian analysis? We go to the decision rule. The decision rule is that an economy specializes in that commodity in which it has a lower opportunity cost ratio. So an economy specializes in a good in which it has a lower opportunity cost ratio, compared to another economy. So the economy specializes in a commodity in which it has a lower opportunity cost ratio compared to another economy. So when we are looking at these opportunity cost ratios, it is clear that South Africa has a lower opportunity cost ratio in the production of cars, because she foregoes 4 tons to produce a car, compared to Zimbabwe, which foregoes 6 tons to produce a car. When we are calculating, we move horizontally, but when we are comparing, we move vertically. So once more, South Africa specializes in the production of cars because she foregoes fewer tons of maize compared to Zimbabwe in the production of a can. She foregoes 4 tons of maize compared to Zimbabwe, it foregoes 6 tons of maize. It's a ceteris paribus. Using the same reasoning, we realize that Zimbabwe will specialize in the production of maize because she has got a lower opportunity cost ratio. She foregoes 1/6 of a car, which is clearly smaller than a quarter of a car, because 1/6 is smaller than a quarter. So we move on. After deciding on the direction of specialization, which is South Africa specializes in car manufacturing or car assembly, and Zimbabwe specializes in maize production, we look at the mutually beneficial trading ratio. We now want to see the mutually beneficial trading ratio. We can do trial and error, or straight away we can go to calculations, which makes our life very easy. So we can ask, is the mutually beneficial trading ratio 1 car is to 4 tons maize? This can't be a mutually beneficial trading ratio because, as we saw, it is the same as the opportunity cost for producing a car in South Africa. It means for every car sold to Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe will be having a net saving of 2 tons of maize, whilst South Africa is gaining nothing. At the second transaction, Zimbabwe will be able to get a car from South Africa for free. Once more, this can't be a mutually beneficial trading ratio. Why? Because for every car that South Africa produces and exports to Zimbabwe, she's not gaining anything, but Zimbabwe is having a net saving of 2 tons of maize. Remember, the opportunity cost of producing a car in Zimbabwe is 1:6. It's 1 car is to 6 tons. So over and above the opportunity cost, should be saving 2 tons of maize, such that for 2 transactions, she's now saved 4 tons of maize, which is equivalent to a car. So at each and every second transaction, Zimbabwe will be getting an extra car. So with that trading ratio, clearly Zimbabwe will be benefiting at the expense of South Africa. It can't be a mutually beneficial trading ratio. And then we ask ourselves, this is one extreme. The second extreme is 1 car is to 6 tons maize. Is this a mutually beneficial trading ratio? No, it can't be a mutually beneficial trading ratio because this trading ratio is to the disadvantage of Zimbabwe. It's the same as the comparative advantage opportunity cost of Zimbabwe. It's like we are trading with the opportunity cost of Zimbabwe when she was operating in Otak. So at this trading ratio of 1 car is to 6 tons of maize, South Africa would be benefiting at the expense of Zimbabwe because South Africa's opportunity cost is 1 car to 4 tons of maize. So for every car South Africa produces and sells to Zimbabwe, she will be gaining 2 tons of maize at the expense of Zimbabwe, whilst Zimbabwe will be gaining nothing. So after every 2 transactions, South Africa will be having a net saving of a car. After every 2 transactions, with the trading ratio of 1:6. Because remember, the opportunity cost of producing a car in South Africa is 1:4. So 1:6, South Africa gains 2 tons. And then second transaction gains another 2 tons. It's now equivalent to 4 tons of maize, which is the opportunity cost for producing 1 car. It means after every 2 transactions, South Africa is implicitly saving a car through specialization and hence international trade. And this at the expense of Zimbabwe. Clearly, that can't be a mutually beneficial trading ratio. So what is the mutually beneficial trading ratio? Is it, for instance, 1 car is to 5 tons maize? I'll put an asterisk to this one to mark it because it happens to be our answer. And then at the conclusion of this exercise, I'm going to show you how you can arrive at this without using the trial and error method. At this trading ratio, South Africa is gaining 1 ton of maize because it's 1 ton above the opportunity cost of 1:4. And Zimbabwe is saving 1 ton of maize from international trade because the opportunity cost is 1:6 tons of maize. So both countries are benefiting mutually because what is gained by South Africa is what is also saved by Zimbabwe implicitly. So there's mutual benefit in specialization and hence international trade. And then in general, given your 2 extremes of opportunity cost ratio, you calculate, we have got 1:4 and 1:6. So the simple mathematics, we say 1 car plus 1 car all divided by 2 divided by 1, all divided by 4 tons of maize plus 6 tons of maize. This gives us 1 car is 2, because 1 plus 1 is 2, divided by 2 is just 1, is 2. 4 plus 6 is 10, divided by 2 is 5 tons of maize, which is the ratio that we found by trial and error in between 1/4 and 1/6. In between 1/4 and 1/6. Between 1/4 and 1/6, the median happens to be 1/5 in the scheme of things of these fractions or trading ratios. This in general is how you calculate the mutually beneficial trading ratio without going through the hassle of doing trial and error, because in an examination, you may not be able to do trial and error. So it's always important for you to read your question and understand what it requires and do what your question requires. Make sure that you don't go beyond what your examinations questions require. I hope you benefited from this tutorial. Thank you so much for joining along. I will see you when I am demonstrating something on the balance of payments. Have a good day.